The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Glory to you, Lord. Someone in the crowd said to Jesus, tell my brother to share the inheritance with me. Jesus replied, Friend, who appointed me as your judge and arbitrator? Then he said to the crowd, Take care to guard against all greed, for though you may be rich, one's life does not consist of possessions. Then he told them a parable. There was a rich man whose land produced a bountiful harvest. He asked himself, What shall I do? For I do not have space to store my harvest. He said, This is what I shall do. I shall tear down my barns and build larger ones. There I shall store all my grain and my other goods. And I shall say to myself, Now as for you, you have so many good things stored up for many years. Rest, eat, drink, and be merry. But God said, You fool, this night your life will be demanded of you. And the things you have prepared, to whom will they belong? Thus will it be for the one who stores up treasure for themselves, but is not rich in the matters of God. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
I suppose somewhat in contradiction with what the Lord is just now saying, you might do yourself and your surviving loved ones the great favor of putting your final papers in order, a will, medical advocate, and final wishes. I can't tell you how many families and people in general have tension at the loss of a loved one who really left no directions, whether there's very little left or a great deal left. It really is a kindness and an act of love on behalf of a family, not only to put those things in order, but it certainly helps resolve the kinds of tensions that money and possessions can create. I see a connection between the first reading and the gospel in that, unlike the man who had a great harvest in the gospel, notice how Jesus said it. The land produced the great harvest. The man didn't do it. The land did. God gave him that harvest. But he claimed it as his own and kept it all for himself. I think in our book study this week, we're going to talk again about one of the four non-negotiable essentials of the gospel, and one of them, of course, is social justice. The socially just thing, and justice by its nature is social. And it is by nature political, because polis means of the people. So it's not a contradiction to say social justice. We are all quite aware, institutionally and systemically, the injustices that are evident in our country and in countries around the world. It's just the reality of sin. But the one who had the great harvest at the abundant providence of God and claimed it all for himself at some expense. These barns are perfectly fine, but they're too small. Let me get rid of these and make bigger ones. There's an injustice there against those who could share that food, and how much of that might go to waste before he could himself use it all. It's a bit of a justice question. So in that sense, he was not in right relationship with God. He was not righteous. He was not in right relationship with God because he was not in right relationship with his possessions. They seem to have become first, whereby God could say, well, pretty foolish, because today is your day. Paul, in the first reading, uses the faith or the example of the faith of Abraham which was accounted to him as righteousness, because he was, through his faith, in right relationship with God. Abraham did not doubt God's promise in unbelief. I don't recall exactly, but wasn't Abraham something like 100 years old when God called him to move from Ur to, maybe it was in Haran, and he was asked to move to Ur of the Chaldeans. That's quite a journey when you're 100. How would you feel about that? But he believed, and he did it, and he trusted. And so it was accredited to him as righteousness. Maybe the last line of the gospel gives some clarity. Thus will it be for the one who stores up treasure for themselves, but is not rich in the matters of God. What matters to God? You, me, ourselves. God is surely pleased when we have an abundance and that we use it rightly. God's pleased, God's happy when we can enjoy the good things of the earth. But when we have more than we need, how much happier is the Lord when we can share what we do not ourselves need at the moment. I'm seeing a pretty good pile of candy back there. Thank you. The dentist will be very happy after those kids eat all the candy. But what matters to God? It's an important reminder. The first non-negotiable essential reality of the gospel is prayer, personal relationship with God. So that when you pray today and or each day, really put yourself into the prayer. Pray from your heart. That might imply pray from your emotions. Tell God who you really are, where you're really at in your life, what you need. God knows what you need, but aren't we satisfied when a vulnerable one entrusts their vulnerability to us by telling us what their concerns are, so that we can incline our compassion and sympathies or mercy toward them? That's what matters to God. So that when God might want to use you in some way, you'll be all the more ready to hear, perceive, or intuit God's call and answer. Lord, thank you for the abundances we all have. Let us be just and righteous with what we have and in right relationship with you.